Hello guys, welcome to Online Web Tutor presented by Prophetic Solutions team. I am Sanjay. We are learning Node.js with MySQL APIs. This is our part number 16. Inside this video session guys, we are ready to create our first query of MySQL in Node.js. So inside this video, we are going to write our first query, that is get all data from our table. In the last video, we had seen that how can we create MySQL connection by installing a package called MySQL, as well as we had created a database inside our phpMyAdmin, something known as node_db. So if I back to editor, now this is the code. By the help of this simplest code actually, we had connected our MySQL in Node application. So first of all, we have to create a table. Inside that, we have to dump some data, and now by the help of that simplest query, we are going to select all the data in our Node application. So let's say that I'm going to create call tbl_users, and it will contain 4 columns. So let's say that the first column should be ID, that is auto increment primary key. In the second, let's say that this will be name, email, and finally let's say it will be phone number, so phone_number. Now this should be varchar, and let's say varchar, and the length respectively, let's say 15 characters of length, let's say 50 and 5050. So if I scroll down, so this will be auto increment, means it will be primary key, and rest all the columns contain null value. So I am checking for the null index, and finally I am to create on the save button. So by clicking on that, now we have created a table called tbl_users inside our database. Now inside this table, I am to dump some data, or let's say that we are going to insert some data inside this. So let's say first row something called Sanjay, email address something sanjay@gmail.com, and the mobile number something dummy value. So press on go button. Successfully we have inserted our first row. Let's insert about the second row. Now we have inserted our second row. Let's insert about the third row. This is our third row. Again, I am going to insert one more row. So click on go button. Now if I back to our table, so inside our table we have now 4 different rows. Now all we have done with the database table. Now if I back to editor, now inside this editor we are going to make an API which select all the data and list in the output screen of our table. In the last video, we had created this connection variable which basically stores the connection informations of this database, and successfully by the help of this connection actually we had seen that how can we validate that these connection details are valid or not. So if I scroll down, now here we are going to write our first API, or let's say first query, to get all the data from our table. So get all data API. Now here simply let's say API.get, sorry it's not app.get, and inside this if we hit the route something called users, now let's say function, inside this function we are going to pass our parameters called request and let's say response. Now inside this block we are going to write our query. So let's say query, and here we are using the connection variable that we have created above. Okay, so connection dot, we have a method called query. Now inside this query method, the first we have to pass our query. So let's say select start from, means all from something tbl underscore users. Now this is the query basically used to get all the data from our table called tbl underscore users, and this is the table we had created inside our database. So back to editor. Now in the second, we are going to pass our callback function, and inside this function we have to pass some parameters, something let's say first about error, means if we get any error while selecting all the data, so all the errors will store inside this variable. In the second, let's say results, and in the third, let's say fields. So after passing all the parameters back inside this block, so let's say if, let's suppose we have some error, so we are going to throw inside our console, so throw error, and otherwise let's say inside else block, simply we are going to write let's say response.json, and inside this let's say that we are getting all the data inside this results variable. So if we save all these changes, and before that I'm to start our server, so something nodemon, this is the package actually auto start node application we had installed in our previous lectures. So nodemon, and something the module name we have called index.js. So index.js. Now it has started our server. If I back to Chrome browser, so let's say localhost, and it should be 5000. So welcome to the initial stage of MySQL. So if I press here something called users, pressing enter, now as we can see that we are getting all the data of this table in the JSON format in this output screen. So why not actually we are going to install a Chrome extension called JSON formatter, let's say Chrome extension. So if I click on this first link, back to this Chrome web store, click on add to Chrome, add extension. So I think that successfully we have now installed JSON formatter to our browser. So close this, and if I reload this page, now as we can see that our output has been now parsed and reflected in this output screen as a JSON format. So if I open called Postman, so back to code editor, now this is our first query guys, actually we had written to list all the data from our table. Inside this, the first query that is select all from table users. If we want to put our where condition, then inside this query also we can put our where condition. So let's say that where id equal to something, let's say 2. So if we save all these changes, back to browser, reload this page, now as we can see that the id2 user has been selected from the result set. So back to editor, now get rid of this where condition for now. So if I back to our Postman and copy this route, back here, open a new tab, and it should be get request type, click on send button. Now this is the output actually we are getting from our first query. So in the simple language, this is our first API to list all the users from our table. Now back to editor. Let's understand about our fields variable from this data. So let's say that instead of response, if I comment that, let's say console.log, and let's say fields here. So if we save all these changes, back to terminal. Now if I hit our route, something users, so it will console means log our message in our console, that is about fields information. So back to terminal. Now inside this is what actually we are getting inside our fields variable. So fields variable basically indicates or store all the information what we have as the column names inside this table. So as we know that inside our table we have columns like ID, name, email and the phone number. So all the informations about these fields basically stored inside fields variable of here. So if I back to terminal, now we can see that this is our database, table name and the column name we have called ID. Inside this, all these informations of this table. Now I scroll down. In the second, we have the name column. In the third, we have called email column and the fourth, we have called the phone number. So back to editor. Now if I make comment of this line and uncomment this response. So again, if we save this file, restarting server, back here and reload this page, now we are getting the same output. So inside this video session guys, we had written our first query to list all the data from our database table. So inside this video, if you have any doubt, then please drop your comment. I will give my reply as soon as possible. So for this video session guys, thank you for watching and have a great day.